Welcome to Let's Take a Walk, brought to you by the Feld Group Institute. What if taking time off actually made your team more productive? In this episode, I sit down with Charlie Feld to explore the power of work-life balance and how simple shifts in leadership mindset can lead to big gains in health, engagement, and in performance. Charlie shares real-world stories from his time at PepsiCo in the 1980s, where reflection and rest became a strategic advantage. Here's Charlie to get us started.
First, we've got to go back a pretty long way in history. And I remember in the 60s when John Kennedy became president, he made physical fitness a priority for the country, right? Before that, nobody thought about physical fitness. Nobody ran. There weren't running shoes. There weren't tracks. It was like you got up in the morning, you went to work, you came home, and life was hard, right? But youth, family, became important, and everybody started running. And then, when I joined PepsiCo, one of the things that was pretty stunning to me, because I went from pretty much being an individual contributor to being in charge of an IT organization overnight, because I worked for IBM one day, and the next day I was the CIO at Frito-Lay. And the stunning nature of the stress of the job just hit me, because it was 7 days, 24 hours a day. Something was always going wrong, or somebody in the organization was having a life tragedy of some kind, a divorce or something, that kids get sick, they have strokes. And, there was never a time when something wasn't going wrong. Sunday night, I get a call and something broke and we can't close the books, right? And, that became pretty stressful to me. I noticed I was gaining some weight and just, wasn't taking the time for stuff that I needed to. And then something big happened in PepsiCo. Wayne Calloway, who's, was my mentor that I write about and talk about all the time, probably make everybody crazy about it, but he was a very quiet person. But we built a new headquarters and moved out of the city into Plano, which is a suburb of Dallas. And it had acres and acres of property and running tracks and baseball fields and basketball courts, right? And an indoor fitness center with treadmills and weights. And it's like, it was hard to relate to at that time, that why are we doing that? People don't have time to get their job done. On top of that, we're building these facilities that encourage people to go do stuff, or they're not going to get used at all, right? And what we found was that it wasn't used too much at the beginning, and then people started using it more and more, and instead of grabbing a sandwich at their desk, they'd go out and play basketball at lunchtime, right? Or you'd go down to the fitness center and you'd find three of your best employees on a treadmill at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm saying, what are they doing not working, right? And it kind of every function had felt the same way. It was like, what are we doing here, right? We're turning into a country club. But we brought it up to Callaway and we just had a meeting and began talking about, what is the purpose of all this stuff? And is it all right for people to go or not all right for people to go? And he was very accommodating in terms of his explanation as to why we made the investment in that. And it made sense, because it's just the opposite of the way you would think. If you have healthy leaders and healthy people, they're going to be able to run the marathon. They're going to be able to stay on that treadmill, right? And they're going to be better performers, because they're healthier. Healthier not just physically, but healthier mentally, which got into people needed to feel comfortable leaving work and going and watch their kids play soccer or basketball in the middle of the afternoon, right? And then come back to work. So you had to develop this trust that people will get their job done, however they choose to get their job done. And it's okay to take a couple of hours off in the middle of the day and clear your mind. Go run, go exercise, lift weights, you know, eat good food, right? And take care of your family and don't miss a PTA meeting and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, you can begin to feel our recruiting machine was getting better. Our ability to keep people was getting better. Our results were constantly getting better. And I could frankly point back to that and say that was a major change in the way I thought about things.
Right. And then the culture of health and wellness is well known now. And we
Right.
can see the data behind everything that you're speaking to. But I can only imagine that in the 80s, when you're talking about this, the fact that somebody was out running on a track in the middle of the day raised some red flags for a while. But then
Yeah.
you can quite very quickly see that not just caring about the bottom line, but caring about each individual and caring about that individual as a whole person that includes being at a soccer game for their kid, being part of their family, and not being in their job at their desk 24/7 led to higher output, happier
Yeah.
people, people who are more engaged, people that want to stay. And I think it's obviously very clear that PepsiCo has been very successful. And if you're, it seems like you can point to that moment in time that may have made a shift there.
Yeah. And it also gave people the ability to understand that, for example, our healthcare costs were reduced. We were a healthier group of people, right? Our output was improved because people had the energy for working hard and wanting to stay here. Our recruiting costs were reduced because people didn't leave. Turnover cost you a lot. So there were some hard costs associated with it, but more importantly, the brain gets cleared and gets to think about things. I've done more of my thinking when I was not at work than at work. If I'm walking in the woods, and one of the things I had with all of my employees, I had a deal where they could take 1 day a year, not count it as vacation, just tell me what it is, and they're going to go up, but they can't go to meetings and go to, they've got to take it for a personal day for themselves and just go for a walk in the woods, which was kind of an image of stop for 1 day a year, think about your life, think about what makes you happy, think about what makes you miserable, right? And think about how you can improve your situation. Just think about, instead of people go through 50 years of life and turn around and say, why did I do that? Why was I in IT for all those years? I don't even like it. And we had a few of those, right? So if you believe that people matter, then you've got to believe that healthy people matter. And healthy people have a good family, good health, they eat well. Now, like you said, you come forward 50 years and it's pretty well documented in the data, right? But you come forward 50 years and people are sitting in front of a screen all day, right? And they're not moving their bodies. And they have no control over who schedules all these meetings, right? And
I think
if
it
you
takes
don't,
somebody like you, it takes another good leader setting the precedent that you taking care of yourself is the number one priority.
right,
And
but it doesn't have to be the CIO. It could be, you could be a manager of a group of 10 people to say, we're not doing this. We're gonna take time, and each of you are gonna block an hour on your calendar each day where you're not gonna let somebody put a Zoom or a Teams meeting on you, right? And you're gonna go for a walk around a building or something, right? So, it is a time that it's been proven that if you have a clear head, a clear mind, and you eat well and you take care of your body, and you'll have the energy to continue to produce, right? But now we're at a time where the circumstance, unless you're disciplined about it, but you got to be in a culture that says, hey, it's all right to take a couple hours off in the middle of the day to play pickleball, right? As long as you get your work done, right? And that's an important part of being a good leader and a good executive. So think about it. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day and you'll be overweight, won't be able to breathe, will have missed all your kids growing up, and it'll be, what was that all about? And you can't let that happen to you. You got to work at it.
I think that one of the biggest things that I've learned from you, Charlie, is in everything that you're doing, you're always taking a moment, at least one, to think and to contemplate how what you're doing is going to play into the bigger picture, whether it's in your life, your work, or otherwise. That there's always just like take that one extra moment to figure out what value is this going to provide. And in a lot of what we're talking about right now, you got to put the energy in to do the thing, to get on the track, to go to the game. But you got to put the energy in to get the energy back out. And that energy that's coming back out of these healthy, balanced individuals is making the better leaders. It's making the leaders that people want to work for, that can help run truly successful transformations. And it's nice to see the data behind it now, but it's also exciting to hear that that you guys were kind of on the forefront of things, even if it was a little out of place
Yeah,
back in the 80s.
yeah, and even on a personal basis, I mean, if you're stuck in an airport, you could choose to be frustrated, not much you can do about it, or you could choose to take the time to think or dream or walk around the airport and get some steps in, right? So it's just tougher right now. There's more stress right now. There's more tension right now. And I tell you, the kids need us more now than they did 50 years ago. I mean, there's a lot of stress coming on, pressure on kids and social media and everything else going on. So, but the things that keep you balanced, have been true forever. And, we just got to keep reinforcing it with people. They will work for you. They'll work hard for you. They won't let you down because they took a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and did something to make their life better. So,
Yeah, and I think that is certainly one of the reasons why folks have enjoyed working for you. I know I had the opportunity to sit in on a gathering of a group of your former employees, and it clearly you set a precedent there and in many other organizations that taking care of yourself is a big priority. Your family is your number one priority. You are your number one priority, and I can still see. I was able to see that that made a very large impact on a lot of people. So it's very cool to get to watch and see those relationships that you created live on even decades later.
yeah. Well, thanks.